If Mike Tyson was going to introduce this podcast, he would say something like this. Today, we're going to talk about monoliths. You're listening to Our Different Take, episode 21. Hello there, and welcome to Our Different Take. My name is Brian, proud father of two awesome boys, Jedi podcaster. This is the way, and to my left is Matt. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks, Brian. I'm very excited for yet another dive into the unknown. It should be an interesting one. Pretty varied topics tonight. And to my left is Scott. Welcome, Scott.
Oh, thank you, Matt. I'm excited for yet another dive into Uranus. That's
Who, Matt's?
I don't even know how to take that.
We'll have to get into that some point in time in the show. So yeah, my name is Scott. I'm the lone representative from the Republic of Texas, or the soon-to-be Republic of Texas. I'm interested in conspiracy theories, the paranormal, the spiritual, and most other things that people think are weird, including Uranus.
You get nothing from me. You get nothing.
That was the best intro ever of any podcast ever.
Man, are we even going to be able to release this thing?
Yeah, it's going. It's going.
All right.
Well,
can't wait for this podcast.
All right. So I'm going to try to follow that up. I'm not sure if I can. But this is usually our kind of our midweek podcast. So we're going to talk about those monoliths that are showing up. We're going to try to talk about someone stealing a German penis, but we should provide some Galactic Federation. So we're going to try to hit all the deep topics briefly, maybe not take as deep of a dive as usual.
We're
dive into Uranus.
Deep into the penis, though.
Oh.
Deep and dive?
It is. All right,
this podcast's already off the rails. We haven't even started yet.
Dude.
All right, so let's start with the monoliths, okay? I tried to do some research to see what maybe the history of a monolith was, so we could bring some interesting facts. The definition of a monolith, which I didn't know that what this is, but the definition is a single great stone, often in the form of an obelisk or a granite monolith, which stands at the center of a park. So I'm like, what the heck? So the world's largest monolith? It doesn't even look like a monolith. It's a big rock in Australia called Uluru.
Called what?
Uluru.
Uluru.
Uluru. Iluru. Yeah. Uluru.
Is that Australian?
That's Uluru. Is Australian. Uluru is English.
All right.
But it's 2,800 feet tall, but it goes 1.5 miles into the ground. So
I heard that. Yeah, it's really huge.
Yeah, it's huge. And you've probably seen pictures of it. Everyone's seen pictures of it, but that's a monolith. That's what a definition of a monolith is. It's not like these things that are showing up all over the world and disappearing.
Well, I think it
is now, but I mean, yeah. I mean, what's you guys' thought on that?
Initially I was really intrigued. Now I just think it's some kind of publicity stunt. I don't think there's anything to it at all, honestly.
You know, I thought that too, but I don't know if it's true or not. But something that I read said that they had actually found this monolith on Google Earth from like 2016. Like it's been there a long time.
Oh, really?
Where was that at?
I don't remember where I saw it, but it was in one of the articles, talking about these monoliths, and they're like, yeah, it just showed up, or somebody just found it, but then they pulled it up on Google Earth and they found it as early as like 4 years ago. which means maybe it wasn't a publicity stunt. I don't know. I still think it's probably just some dude jacking with people, like putting art out there. But
Right.
if it legit was on Google Earth back then I don't know what it is.
I wonder if maybe one of them was like real, and then there was like everything else is a copycat, because we know some
Maybe.
of them are copycat because they've said it, right?
Yep.
Some dudes are like, "Hey, I built it."
But
Right.
what are they gonna? How do you get a monolith? Like, somebody put it in their garage? Where did this thing come from? The other ones, the copycats.
Well, in El Paso, they made one actually a couple days ago, and it looks the same. Some artist said he made it. He put it out like on a main street, and a truck came up and someone stole it.
Really?
Yeah, they drove up, they loaded that right in the back of the truck and took off. And then later on, it's on eBay now, where you could buy it for $1,250.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Damn
but
those monolith thieves!
I know.
Jeez,
They're like, "Wow, that's cool. Let's get it."
is nothing sacred anymore.
Mm-mm. No, but they're selling it for
Bastards.
$1,200. But the artist said he wasn't going to press charges.
Huh.
So
There you go.
there was a dude that actually made it and put it in El Paso.
Huh.
Yeah. So, I mean, my thought is like there were maybe one or two originals, and then people are like, "Well, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll just make a monolith myself and throw it out there just to throw people off."
Well, I'm sure there's always copycats, and maybe one of them is legit. But to what end? Like, what's the purpose?
That's what I couldn't find either, because I thought, well, surely back in history somewhere, whether it was the Indians or the Mayans or whatever, there would be some monolith worship somewhere. But I couldn't find anything other than the Kubrick movie, the 2001 Space Odyssey. It was all about that. There was nothing else anywhere that I could find about a monolith.
Led Zeppelin, the album "In Through the Outdoor," has when it was released, it had 6 different covers on it of the same location. It's a bar with a guy sitting at the bar, and in one of the pictures on the album jacket, there's a little black monolith sitting on one of the tables. And I have a buddy who's a Led Zeppelin fanatic, and he actually flew to England for an auction and paid $9,000 for that little monolith from the album cover.
How big was that monolith?
Not very big. It was probably about 10 inches high. It's black, and it's 3-sided, but it twists all the way up. It's like a twisted triangle kind of.
Interesting. It's a lot of money to pay for that.
I mean, there's only one, right? So
it's true. That's true.
About 10 years ago, I went to Las Vegas and I stayed at the Luxor Hotel, and there's a big monolith out in front of that. I didn't worship it or anything, but
Did
you feel anything walking by it?
Excited to gamble.
Yeah,
right.
That's pretty much it. I wanted to. Yeah. I felt like I wanted to go put some money in a slot machine. Yeah, I wish I had a better, funnier answer than that, but no, I felt nothing. And then the one in Washington D.C. supposedly has all this Illuminati symbolism behind it, or whatever. But
like there's writing on it,
supposedly it's got all kinds of Illuminati meanings or something. That the one in D.C.
The Washington Monument or whatever they call
it. Washington Monuments supposedly got all kinds of deep Illuminati.
Well, there's tons of Masonic symbolism on that, and all over DC. Actually, we could do a whole podcast on that. I think, in fact, we might have already done that. But there is a lot of symbolism there.
Okay. Well, that's something we can cover for sure. I don't think we've hit that, but that's a good topic. So
to me, when I saw all these monoliths showing up, to me it reminded me of back when all of the crop circles started showing up. Remember that? You guys remember when? I mean, again, we're talking about Led Zeppelin right here. So Led Zeppelin did crop crop circles on the covers of one of their albums. I forget which album it was.
Though, but looking at crop circles, and man, that's whoever can make that look that way. That's pretty cool. A monolith, though, to me, I mean, it's just a big chunk of metal. You could see one anywhere, and it doesn't seem that special to me. And maybe I'm missing something. It would be special if I was hiking in the middle of nowhere and came across it for sure, but it doesn't really do anything that we know of. They've they've all been either removed, they disappear. Like you said, there's some that were seen on Google Earth from a long time ago, but I just don't see much of a supernatural or a really deep personal connection. There could be monoliths. One could pop up on my block. I don't know that I'd give two shits, to be honest.
That when the crop circles showed up, though, it was almost like everybody was trying to, initially anyway, everybody was trying to like, well, what does it mean? Is it a
Right.
message? Are the aliens trying to communicate with us, but they don't speak English? Is that what this is? And to me, that's almost what this monolith stuff has become. Assuming that
Right.
it's not just a bunch of people put stuff out there just to, copycat everything. It's like the stories are trying to represent. Maybe they're trying to communicate something to us, and it just has the same feel as the crop circles had. And I remember when the crop circles came out, at first everybody was like, well, they're aliens. And then people, they're not aliens. There's just some kids out there. And so they tried to make the crop circles, they tried to reproduce them. And to some degree, they were able to do it, but to me, not convincingly.
Right.
Not quite as good.
They didn't look as good at all.
It didn't look as good, and it seemed like that there was even some EMF signatures at the ones that weren't like reproduced. It was almost like there.
I think you're onto something there. The ones that were very convincing, and there were even some that had radiation signatures, weren't there?
Right. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I said EMF, but yeah, they had some different characteristics to them. That made it seem like it was legitimate stuff. Like there was, I don't know what it was. We did that episode on episode 14 was on the Germans doing the spacecraft.
Yeah.
So it could very well be something like that somebody's just kind of trying to plant some things in our collective consciousness. But it wasn't done with a bunch of dudes carrying a couple of 2x4s, which is what they tried to convince us initially that it was.
Right. It was not.
And so the monolith thing, when I saw the first one, it was just kind of like, yeah, it was just a monolith. Some dude, some artist put it out in the middle of the desert. But then they started showing up in California and Romania and wherever else they showed. There's been 4 or 5 of them now.
Mm-hmm.
The Romanian one was kind of interesting.
What about it was interesting to you?
Well, just that it's they're separated by continents.
Yeah.
And so if it was the same people, I mean, you would have to be a really bored bazillionaire, or maybe somebody with a lot of means to pull that off, unless it was a copycat. But I thought it was interesting that one just showed up on a hillside in Romania. How random is that?
They all look the same size, right? I mean, it looks to me like the exact same monolith, right? One's not tall, one's not short. I mean, they're all kind of the same size, right?
Too. Yeah.
They fit in the back of a truck pretty easy.
Or like 200 pounds ish, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the thing to me is that it was almost like somebody or a group of somebody's trying to make it look like somebody's trying to communicate with us through these monoliths. Like there's some grand purpose for them other than just a bunch of artists that are, oh, look at me. Because they were in different places. I think one, California. I mean, California's pretty close to Was the other one found in Arizona or Utah? Where was the first one?
I think there was Utah. Yeah.
I mean, that's not too far from California, so I don't know. Maybe it was the same person that dragged one, but I don't know. It just seemed like that the number of them and the different places that they were was almost like somebody was trying to make it look like some sort of communication or something. And
Right.
it just reminded me of the crop circles for whatever reason. It said this is kind of like the 2020 version of what we used to see back in the 80s and 90s, and we're so curious about.
Mm-hmm.
I think the message is going to be hard to get to us because it's not going to be in stereo. It's going to be in mono. It's going to be hard to hear.
Brian, oh my God, your rapier wit comes through once again.
Listen to you.
Yeah.
Was that your
Mike Tyson?
was that your lisp? Your monolith?
Yeah, it was just it was a singular lith.
Oh, dude.
That's a monolith.
Oh, that's good stuff right there. Okay.
Well,
all right. So, final verdict on the monolith: alien or no?
I'm going to
Scott.
say no.
No.
I'm going to say no too.
We got a no from Scott and a no from Matt, and probably no from me as well.
All right, moving on. Giant German penis. Is that where we're at?
Well, we probably got to get. We got to get some background to that one, probably.
Matt, don't. Matt,
maybe
don't
that's
jump,
where you're at, Matt.
Don't jump on the penis so quickly, Matt.
All right, I'll take my time. I'm just curious.
He's so quickly trying to get on the penis.
Scott is weird because this is your subject you brought up, so you can start.
Yeah, man. Let's have it, Scott.
Okay.
I'm curious.
Don't be soft on this subject.
And not in the way you're hoping.
So this is a news story found on Fox News. A phallic landmark statue.
Did you say Fox News?
Fox News, yes.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. Published December the 1st. A phallic landmark statue in Germany mysteriously disappears. Police investigating. Local police were unsure whether a crime has been committed. So it says, the mysterious disappearance of a phallic-shaped sculpture from a German mountainside where it first appeared without explanation several years ago. So somebody they're out there on the side of a mountain. Oh, look, a giant penis has caught the attention of local police. Local media reported that police in the Bavarian town of Kempten, about 79 miles southwest of Munich, are investigating the disappearance, although it wasn't clear whether a crime had been committed. I don't know if maybe the aliens were responsible for this as well. But a 7-foot tall sculpture appeared to have been chopped down by maybe Lorena Bobbitt. Appeared to have been chopped down over the weekend. That's terrible. The paper reported. All that remained on the 5,702 foot high Grunten Mountain was a pile of sawdust and splinters. Oh, that's awful.
Wait. Was it made out of wood?
You ever heard that ZZ Top song, Woke Up With Wood?
No.
What? That's a song
I never
from them.
Are you serious? You guys have never heard that?
No. Sorry.
Oh man, you got to go. You got some ZZ Top listening to do over the.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so the peculiar sculpture has become a hotspot destination for hikers in recent years, and even appeared on Google Maps, where it was classified as a cultural monument. So they think that it was a birthday prank that the family didn't appreciate as a gift. It's a 440-pound dick that was hauled up to the mountain and just left there, and then somebody just cut the dick down. Disappeared, and nobody knows where it went.
So someone made this. They hauled it up this mountain, and secured it. Like did they did they mount it on the mountain?
Did they mount the dick?
No pun intended. How did they install it?
Man, mounting a 440-pound dick. So, from the picture that I'm looking at, it looks like it was propped up with some sort of a tree limb.
What?
Tree limb?
That's what it appears to be. Yes, it's a very large phallic structure, and it appears to have been mounted with a tree. Yes, and somebody. It appears to be a circumcised penis.
Well, that's good. Is that good?
I guess it's good. I don't know.
I mean, we don't want to discriminate against other listeners that might be not circumcised, I guess.
So this is really this is amazing news that we're reporting on here.
So this is our different take on this. That this podcast is sponsored by D's Nuts. Well, so this is an alien. This is an alien in origin. Then aliens didn't do this.
We don't know.
No,
we don't know if the aliens wanted a 440-pound penis structure. We don't know.
They could be worshiping it right now on some planet far away. It could be their god, and we wouldn't even know it.
Fox News goes on in their article to say its disappearance comes just days after a mysterious monolith in Utah made headlines before suddenly vanishing itself. So, dun dun dun. Maybe there's a connection between the Utah monolith and the German penis.
Maybe so.
Well, if we don't have any German listeners yet from Germany, actually, so if we get there and if you guys hear this, please let us know. Just let us know.
Let us know if you've ever seen the 440-pound structure yourself, and if so, why did you go there?
True. I wouldn't make the hike for that, I don't think.
Definitely interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, so final thoughts on the penis? Scott, alien, yes or no?
It looked pretty Earthling-like to me. I'm gonna go with Earthling.
Matt, alien, yes or no?
No, definitely German, but not alien.
All right,
dude, it was circumcised.
Not. Wait a minute. Are you saying that Germans are not in general?
I mean, I thought that was true. I don't know. I guess I don't know too many Germans directly. If you are German and you are circumcised, call us.
Call Scott.
Oh,
Scott. I'm
dear
going to
Lord.
give you his own personal number at the end of this podcast, so you can talk about it together.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay, so
this gentleman is how a podcast dies. Right here.
This is called Jumping the Shark.
Oh, we keep this midweek podcast light, so that's what we're doing for you guys.
There's 440 pounds on this one.
Oh, that's true. We're keeping it heavy. We're keeping it on the down low. Okay. All right, moving on. Fast. Moving on fast. So we're just going to mention this here now, and we might get deeper into it later on another podcast because there's a lot to talk about here. But this week, Matt, do you want to talk about this? Who?
Well, I thought it was pretty interesting. Former Israeli space security chief, who clearly, if you're the chief of security for Israeli space, uh, that's something. He says extraterrestrials exist and Trump knows about it. A galactic federation has been waiting for humans to reach a stage where we will understand what space and spaceships are. Chaim Ashed said. Essentially, he's saying that Trump is in the know and that extraterrestrials are a thing that the president and other presidents have known about and are keeping secret. I can guess, 1,000 reasons why that might actually be the case. And if there were extraterrestrials, I would guess that the president would probably be in the know about that stuff.
Here's my first
Thoughts?
question. That guy's name was I Am a Shed.
Let's see. Haim, Haimeshed. Chaim Ashed, which I think with an Israeli accent is I am a shed. Yeah.
How did we know he wasn't really a garage?
That's
I
his
don't know.
brother. Chaim Garage.
I mean, this is a looks like an NBC News article. Former Israeli police security chief has sent eyebrows shooting heavenward by saying that Earthlings have been in contact with extraterrestrials from a galactic federation. The unidentified flying objects have asked not to publish that they are here. Humanity is not ready yet. Chaim Ashed, former head of Israel's Defense Ministry Space Directorate. This guy holds a cabinet position. Told Israelis Yediot Ahronot newspaper. The interview in Hebrew ran on Friday and gained traction after parts were published in English by the Jerusalem Post on Tuesday. Respected professor and retired general. Like he's he's no slack, man. He's a general in the Israeli army. He's probably a badass at some point.
Okay, so
Ashed,
go ahead.
he said that aliens were equally curious about humanity and were seeking to understand the fabric of the universe.
Now, the article that I read on that says that Mr. Ashed is 87 years old.
Fair enough.
So he's not currently the director of whatever he was directing. Was this a few years ago that he was involved? It couldn't be if he says that Trump knows.
Well, we've seen this before, though, where people get close to their deathbed and they want to come clean.
Yeah.
And things come out. And then what you'll see later on is they'll be discredited or there'll be misleading information later on published about them. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if this general had knowledge of that, being part of the Israeli Space Administration. And, probably every president for the last 15 years has been in the know.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
If that's a thing. And if you were president and if you were asked to keep it under wraps, I don't know. That's probably legit, I would think. I don't see any reason to doubt unless this guy's just an absolute crackpot.
It sounds interesting to me and somewhat legitimate. The only thing that, and maybe just because of Star Trek or whatever, the Galactic Federation seems like that's not as legit.
Well, he said it was a galactic federation. I don't know if they called themselves the Galactic Federation, but it says a galactic federation.
A galactic,
which to me says it's a group of planets, maybe, or I don't know.
Could be. Very intriguing, though.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And who was it that completely shut up after they said some crazy stuff? Was it John Glenn that started saying a bunch of crazy stuff about aliens, and they hushed him up? And do you remember that?
I don't.
I think it was John
I
Glenn.
vaguely do, yeah.
Yeah, started saying stuff that we knew that there were aliens, and then he got real quiet about that, and everything kind of died down. But pretty interesting.
Well, you remember Carter said that he had seen UFOs personally when he was on Air Force One.
Yeah.
But again, we talked about this episode 14. UFOs doesn't necessarily equal aliens, and so just because somebody says they saw a UFO and doesn't really mean anything. And an 87-year-old, maybe they're trying to come clean at the end of their life, or maybe they're
crazy.
They're like Joe Biden and yeah.
What's that like, Scott? What's that?
Oops, I just went political, didn't I? Never mind.
Do tell. What? Yeah, I'm sure half our listeners are thrilled to hear what you have to say.
I mean, Joe Biden is the president-elect, right?
Right.
That's what I meant to say. No, he's not.
President-elect is only president-elect after December 14th.
Okay,
when the electoral college goes in.
My bad. I correct myself and everything that I just said. Let me go back and start talking about the German penis again.
There you go.
Oh, dear.
There you go. Oh, man. That topic's coming to a head.
That's very nice. Oh, my gosh.
Okay. Oh, man. We went way off the rails on this podcast.
Man, shafted.
Wow.
Jeez. We better. Okay.
We're having a ball.
All right, then.
Okay. So I took a trip to Missouri.
Tell us your field trip, sir. Tell us your field trip.
So I went to Missouri. I drove up I-44 to St. Louis. And perhaps we have some listeners in the great state of Missouri right now who have been to a nice little place up near St. Roberts called Uranus. And so I saw these billboards along the way, and I said, I have to stop, because the billboards were so freaking awesome. I mean, I just kept on reading them. I'm like, what the hell is this? I've got to see this place. So, like, they had billboards up on the freeway that was saying stuff like, explore Uranus Fudge Factory. We pack the best fudge in Uranus anywhere. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So I had to stop at this place, and so, like, when you go in the front door, it says, thank you for visiting Uranus. Enter Uranus. When you leave, it says exit Uranus, and then they when you check out, the clerks are like, thank you for picking Uranus. They have these great T-shirts in there all over the place. Uranus is expanding. Please excuse the mess. And the Uranus Space Force, keeping Uranus Klingon free since 2000.
Klingon free. It's for you, Jeremy Reed.
It is awesome. It is want to be famous? Show off Uranus.
Oh, jeez.
It is the best place. If you're ever in St. Roberts, Missouri, which is pretty much right in the middle of Springfield and St. Louis on I-44, you got to stop at this place. It is one of the coolest little destinations ever. And by the way, if anybody from St. Roberts and Uranus is listening, we'd love to have you as a sponsor of this podcast.
Amen to that.
There you go.
Taglines like crazy. That would be awesome. Love it.
So I did get some fudge from Uranus, and they packed my fudge before I left Missouri.
Outtake.
Wow.
Outtake for years.
I really am. I'm shocked that you would trust Brian with that. I'm astounded that you would feel comfortable saying that and giving him the power, because he'll use it. I promise. Brian's going to make you famous, brother.
You must only use your power for good, Brian.
Yes,
Oh,
I will wield it.
You have no idea.
Responsibility, like on a T-shirt.
No idea what's coming. The shit storm that is going to come. No pun intended.
That's awesome.
No pun intended. My ass, my anus.
Oh, dude.
Well, this has been it's been a pretty good podcast, guys.
Yeah.
We strayed a little bit from our normal stuff, but that's what we're going to try to do on these midweek podcasts. Have a little fun, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, please don't stop listening to us after this.
That's right. That's right. They won't. We're on a roll. We are on a roll.
Thanks for listening this week. Welcome to all of our listeners. Thanks so much for listening. Send us an email as to where you're listening from so we can give you a shout out. Special shout out goes to India, where we have a ton of new downloads. We really appreciate all of you listening to our podcast. Please send us an email as to where you're listening from. We'd really like to know where you guys are and what you think of our show. Go to ourdifferenttake.com and our Facebook group page called ODT Nation. Please send us your comments, suggestions, complaints, or questions to show@ourdifferenttake.com. We want to give a shout out to a listener, Amos, who's taken our remote viewing challenge. We'll be teaching her how to do remote viewing and doing an experiment with her later on this week, and we'll report the findings.
Awesome.
You can also call our voice. Yeah, it is pretty awesome, huh? You can also call our voicemail hotline to submit questions or comments, or really to say anything that you want. Just call 970-343-4594. That's 970-343-4594. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and look for us anywhere you get your podcast from. We also have a YouTube channel called Our Different Take. Please subscribe and click on the bell so you'll be notified when a new podcast is released.
All right, peace.
Peace out.
I don't know. I'm afraid to talk anymore because you'll put me on an outtake.
We don't want that.
The giant dick. I think that would become a fun thing to talk about.
I'm trying to sound like Mike Tyson. How does he sound?
Just like that. Go for it.
Like this?
Some fudge because I wanted them to pack my fudge.
I thought you were Devin Dipe into Uranus.
Yeah, you piece of crap.